Here's a little refresher on order of operations. So you might have learned back in the day that order of operations follows what we call PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, where the P stands for parentheses, brackets, any kind of grouping symbol. E stands for exponents, which also includes square roots. And MD is multiplication and division, and those really need to go together because multiplication and division are essentially the same thing. So we're going to do those two items together, left to right, whatever we see first. Then AS would be addition and subtraction. Again, just like with multiplication and division, we're going to do those left to right. All right, let's do a couple of examples. The first one, 5 plus 6 times 3. Now there's no grouping symbols, there's no exponents, so we jump right into multiplication and division. When I'm looking left to right, I see 5 plus 6. Nope, that's addition. Then I see 6 times 3. So that's the first thing that I want to do, and 6 times 3 is 18. I highly recommend you rewrite your problem. So the 5 comes down, and we now have 5 plus 18. So I add those two together, it's my last step. And this answer here is 23. Right? There's like basically a two-stepper. And of course, some of these get more difficult. Well, in this one, 8 divided by 5 times 10, we still have no grouping symbols, but now we have multiplication and division in this one. So we want to go left to right. So the first thing you do is division. 8 divided by 5. And if you plug that into your calculator, you get 1.6. So this gives us 1.6 times 10. And 1.6 times 10 is then 16. Now, because multiplication and division are essentially the same thing, you could type this into your calculator at one time, doing 8 divided by 5 times 10, and you would get the same thing. Depending on your calculator, some calculators will do order of operations for you if you type it in correctly, but knowing the steps is also very, very, very helpful. Okay, now let's get into a little bit more of a multi-step problem, if you will. So 4 times 5 minus 3 divided by 8 times 5 plus 12. Okay, so no grouping, no exponents. We jump right into multiplication and division. And when you look left to right, the first thing you see is 4 times 5. So I want to start there, and that is 20. And then I'm just going to rewrite the rest of the problem because that's where I'm at. Okay, so I've got 20 now. I want to keep going left to right, so I have 20 minus 3. Nope, that's subtraction. But then I see 3 divided by 8, so that's my next step. Well, 3 divided by 8 is 0.375, so I want to rewrite my problem. 20 minus 0.375 times 5 plus 12. Okay, so again, I keep looking multiplication, division, left to right. Well, now I see this multiplication. So 0.375 times 5 is 1.875. Rewrite what you have left. Okay, well now I have a subtraction and an addition. I'm done with multiplication and division, so now I can move on to addition and subtraction, and I can move left to right. So I start with this subtraction problem, and I get 18.125. Again, rewrite what I have left, and then finish off with addition, and I end up with 30.125. So I find it extremely helpful to continue to rewrite the problem as you do each step, because then you can see where you're at, and that it really helps as you're moving forward through a problem. Okay, let's get into some exponents. I still don't have any groupings, so now I'm going to just deal with exponents. So I start with 3 squared, and 3 squared is the same as 3 times 3, which is 9. Rewrite the rest of my problem. I just add those two together, and I have 13. Your calculator should have either a caret button, if you will, or it may have a button that says y to the x. And either way, you should get 9. So you want to definitely play with your calculator to make sure that you know how to use it in these instances. And the last one, we have 3 raised to the 2 plus 4 power. Well, in this case, we have a grouping. Well, 2 plus 4 is 6, so this really gives me 3 raised to the 6th power, which can also be written like this if I wasn't typing. And 3 to the 6th power, right, this is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which is the same as 729. And there's just kind of a quick introduction, walkthrough of order of operations.